Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. Today, I shall be speaking to this young lady, Maggie Baring, who is coming all the way from a nice part of London, which I actually went past on the tube the other day when I was staying in Ealing Common. But we shall find out more about her and her music straight after this little video. You know the words by now.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
You see, if only every song that you wrote literally had just a set of words like that, it's just so much easier to remember them. I think even I could cope with that.
What was the word that they were singing?
Keep on, don't stop.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Good
that's
idea.
it. It's you know, it's a message. It's straight to the point. It's there, etc. I never wrote lyrics like that. I wrote quite complex lyrics. Yeah. And then they were really difficult to remember. How about you? How do you go about writing your lyrics? What inspires them? And do you find it easy to remember them?
I think, well, I did English at uni. So I've read so much literature. And so, yeah, I started off with writing, like when I was first writing, I wrote songs like Taylor Swift's early music, which is like, I'm in the car with my boyfriend, like kind of silly and sweet. And then now I'm moving into like more like mythological language, like a couple more like unknown words and stuff. And like it's really fun to kind of be like poetic with my lyrics. But I find them very easy. Once I've written them, I find them easy to remember. Because you have to kind of like you have to labor over like every single line until it's perfect and scans well. So like I feel like after you've done that, it's all stuck in your memory.
I like the go tell me about the unknown words bit, because that's cool. I mean, what do you love words? Do you look up words? Do you try and swallow a dictionary?
Yeah, like I think there's a stage where you can get to the point where it's like kind of obnoxious. So I really want to like tread that line. And like sometimes there are artists where the words are like, actually, it's like, come on, it's just pop music, like don't be silly. But like my friend who I did English with at uni, she like sends me words. Like there's a word called limerence. And like I was like, that is the most like delicious word. Got to put that in a song. Haven't put it in a song yet. So
What does that word mean?
it basically means like idolizing something or someone in a way like from a distance. And it's like an idea instead of actually.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a cool word. And yeah, like I've read a lot of like Shakespeare and kind of just like, and I did my dissertation on Leonard Cohen, who's like obviously the king of words in music. So I was like picking bits from him, and like he uses a lot of like biblical stuff.
Do you know when you go to see a Shakespeare play, and you can tell the background of the audience by where they laugh or whether they laugh?
Yeah.
It's true, isn't it? It's absolutely true, right? Like a lot of people don't realize, like when Shakespeare's saying like, this man, he has nothing, right? It means no thing.
Yeah, no,
right?
genitals.
Yeah, exactly, right. So if you get an educated crowd, they laugh at that bit. They go ha ha ha, and then another crowd just like silent.
But Shakespeare is so hard to understand. Like you have to kind of go through it and translate it, I find. To ever understand it. But that's why the actors are so brilliant, because they do make you understand it in some ways.
The physical element of it makes you understand it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. What about making up words? I mean, would you ever go into that? Would you ever like do a like Liz Fraser from like Cocteau Twins and sort of start almost like doing tongues?
I haven't heard of Liz Fraser, but I did. I mean, I know like Lewis Carroll, and I love what's her name? Gertrude Stein. And they made up words, and like it's very fun, but I kind of find it a bit silly. I want my music to be, because like that could be in like comedy music,
Right.
or like speaking in tongues is like intense, but I'm not
Yeah.
for that kind of thing. Like I love people to be able to understand everything that I'm saying and like relate to it, and like make it kind of like the words should be like timeless, and kind of like everyone should be able to get something from them. So if you make up words, that's kind of.
I'll send you some Cocktail Twins links afterwards and see what you make of it. All right. I mean, I think it works with Liz. I mean, just because the music's quite intense in itself, and I think it almost like makes you the way she does it, you almost feel like you do know what that she's saying. That's quite clever. It's almost like she's giving you the start of your own interpretation, and then you go into it.
Yeah, my piano player for my band recommended me this album of two girls singing, and all the words are made up, but they sound like words, like pop word music, and it's so beautiful, but you don't understand what's going on. But I suppose that actually is like made up words, and it does work. Yeah.
Do you want people to have their own interpretation of your music?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because some people say, because I write music that's quite like personal to me, like everything's kind of based off reality of something that's happened to me. And the people that know me are sometimes a bit like, oh God, like, is that a bit much? Like, do you think that you should be like exposing yourself like that much? But I think when people start listening like en masse, and like people who don't know me will listen to my music, they can relate way harder to something where it's like specific to someone's life. It's weird, like, you know how Olivia Rodrigo did like I got my driver's license last week. Like it's very specific, but for some reason like everyone kind of gets it. Like everyone, it's like the specificity like is actually quite universal, I guess.
It's a pivotal moment as well, though, isn't it? I mean, I think if you think about that, right, for me, the moment I had notifications are on. The moment I had my driving license was the moment that signaled freedom. Do you think that's what it is, really? In a way, it's like those. It might seem like intense detail, but at the same time, it's a very big moment, you know?
Yeah, and it's something that like, you know, however old it is when you're American, like 17, 16, like when you like that applies to a whole age bracket across the US and the UK that is specific to I'm working towards my driving test, and then I'm getting my driving test, and that then like everyone's like, oh yeah, like I remember that, but she's really sad because she's like not with the person that was helping her get her driving test or whatever.
Absolutely. But I also think it depends where you come from as well. That makes a big difference. I mean, I remember when I got my driving license, I was living in what was at the time, it's not anymore, but was at the time quite a small village. And transport links were rubbish. Right. So having a driving license really made a big difference, because it suddenly meant seeing things in the world that you couldn't see before. I mean, if you were living in the centre of London, probably having a driving license wouldn't make much of an odds, to be honest, because it's hard enough to drive anywhere in London. And you can get on a tube, you can get on a train, get on a bus, and you can go somewhere else anyway. But do you know what I mean? And I think maybe it depends where you come from, but I think circumstance often dictates just how broad a stroke something is to somebody, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you writing about right now?
I am currently writing, I'm trying to write like an album of
Good.
Like, it's because I've got this EP coming out in September, and it was written last year. And I'm now like working towards what am I going to do next. And the EP that's coming out is very sad, intense, alternative folk pop music. And I'm quite a happy person. And I also, since moving to London, like being a musician, like full time, I'm like, I've never been like happier, even though it's like a really hard job. Like I'm so pleased that I'm doing it and like really happy. And I'm writing this album basically just like documenting like everything that's happening. Like I've got a song called Overwhelmed, which is just about like just being so busy and so tired and like just having to keep going, but it's like really fun. And it's like it's like almost going down like country. I want it to be like a kind of barn dance album with lots of like
barn dance.
Oh, yeah, right. Like it's like in British country. So like
right.
in my mind, that's barn dance, because I grew up in a tiny village as well. And we had like a village hall where we'd have like dances.
But barn dances, I'm going to say this, barn dances used to scare me. Right? Why? Because you had to dance.
Oh.
And I've got 2 left feet.
Really?
Yeah, I've always been terrified of dancing. I mean, look, in my own space, if locked in my own bedroom with some music or whatever else, quite happy to badly throw some shapes at myself. But in public, no. And just the whole thing about barn dancing used to scare the bejesus out of me. It really did.
It's like choreographed, it is quite intense, like doing the whole like step like
that's right. We always had callers, and they used to be like, grab your partner by the hand and like now dozy do, and then you had to walk your way through it all first, and it was just like, oh no. I mean, I was never going to be one of those pop stars that does all of this.
Because surely you have to do dancing when you're like performing live.
No, I used to jump on people.
Crowd surf.
I used to do that. I quite happily crowd surf. I quite happily sort of like climb up on amps and throw myself off, or just gesticulate to the audience, like use my hands and my eyes and everything else, but act to the audience.
Yeah.
Right. So I was quite visceral, but not dancing. None of that. No, it's just that's why later on in life, my friend, that's why when all my friends started getting into clubs, and I actually helped like co-run a club night in London for a while.
Cool.
Yeah, I wanted to be behind the decks. Yeah, and I did, because that was great, right? Because you know what, I can manage this. I can do this bit, and I can manage that, right? And I'm quite happy to have 3,000 people in front of me dancing, but I'm doing this bit. And I feel happy then. They're happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It makes everybody happy. But yeah, the actual dancing bit. Sorry, we digress. But look, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will like barn dancing.
It's like, it's not going to be like now Dosey though. It's just a lot of like, I want it to sound like a live band, like a whole album where you're walking into a room, where you're walking into a big barn and there's a band at the other end. Yeah. And the speakers are all over the place, and like everyone, sometimes the piano player like goes off on one, and like sometimes there's like a really old, like it's kind of janky, but like in a fun, like lovable way. But I'm writing this album, just trying to like all the different things that are happening to me at the moment, like trying to document.
So the lyrics, some of them are quite intense, but the music will be quite a relief. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the song Overwhelmed is like, it's just like about the, like, it's like how I feel a lot of the time, which is like, you're doing something that you absolutely love and you're so glad that you're so busy, but it's like I literally like sometimes like go for a week where I don't like sit down and have a meal. Like you're like running around London or wherever you are, and that's so fun. And I'm so glad that's the way it is. I could have no jobs and no work at all.
So is this going to be like a sophistic pop version of sort of Bewitched? Do you know what I mean? Because like Bewitched were kind of like that, weren't they? I mean, actually, I saw them last year live. I
wish I knew who Bewitched were.
You don't remember?
I always show up my knowledge of music.
Okay, so Bewitched Bewitched were a 90s band that all female band. They're back on the scene again now, so go and check them out. But their music was, to all intents and purposes, it was great pop music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the songs had a sort of emotional, sort of sad stroke spiritual lilt to them, but it was kind of barn dancey, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You should check out Bewitched.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going for like a kind of residency. I'm going to go stay with my producer, and we're going to try and write most of the album in August. So that'll be when we'll like listen to loads and loads of music and like just get it all on the table.
So listen to Bewitched beforehand and go, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to bring a little bit of that energy back. That's great. I think there was a time when you were talking earlier about, because you're in London and you were talking about some of the things that happen in and around London and whatever. I was thinking of the thing that sprung to mind as well is that I don't think we've had for a while songs like, do you remember Lily Allen's LDN, London?
Yes, love that album. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it had there was a time when we had like albums that had a real summer vibe to them. Like you could literally put them on and from start to finish feel like you were in summer.
And you remember, I mean, the London LDN album, I remember exactly like the time period that I listened to that album like intensely, how obsessed I was with it, how much it makes me feel a certain way. And like if I ever go back to it, I'm like back in the world of like when I was like, 16.
Yeah.
Oh,
so would you like to capture a bit of that sort of thing really within what you're doing as well?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think she was having a bit of a like probably a cooler London experience than me. I live in living in like South Kensington. There's not much like kind of pop art going on, but like
her dad was a famous actor as well. I mean, it's like
was he? I didn't know.
Oh yeah. Met her dad at a festival one time, actually. Yeah. No, look it up. Her dad actually released a single with Alex James from Blur, which you may or may not have heard about.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember? It was an England chant song, which was a bit silly. Do you remember the song Vindaloo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vindaloo. That's her dad.
I thought that was just made up by the fan. That's so funny.
That's her dad. You see.
But no, she's awesome. I love her. I went through a phase of trying to write songs like Lily Allen and realized that I'm no good at it, but I'm a bit more kind of heartfelt than her, I think.
That's an important step in anyone's progression as a singer-songwriter, isn't it? I think there's two things, especially when you're a singer. I think the first thing is learning to sing as you. Did you ever go through a phase where you were trying to sing like other people, like when you were younger? Did you like copy people intensely and then go, hang on, that's not really where my voice is?
Yeah, I mean, I come from like a choir background.
Right.
It was like
church choir or school choir?
Yeah, school church choir, and it put into like I was like the high soprano the like lead, and I was so bad. And I had this girl who was like next to me, and she was like amazing, and I couldn't read music.
Did you ever have to sing the solo in Once in Royal David City?
I thank God never had to do that. She always got the solos. I was never allowed to like, because I was so bad, but I was just like holding up the kind of sopranos in the background. And I did a lot of musical theatre at school. But like my school wasn't very into pop. So they kind of, they wanted me to do like choir and musical stuff. So I was doing a lot of that and thinking I was like kind of all right at singing. And then I started like actually singing like pop music.
And then you realize you're not a soprano at all.
Yeah, well, I'm like, I can sing really high. Like I can do the Joni Mitchell like trill thingies. But I'm mainly like I'm good in my chest voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know where you are. So that's the thing. So you develop that, and then you start singing as you rather than other people. But then you start to try and write like other people, and then you realize that you need to write like you, because otherwise it's not you, is it?
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize what I kind of like, but I think it's always changing. I hope that it's always changing, because even, you know, Taylor Swift is the best example. Is like, you know, she's done everything and changed her genre all the time, and I think it's so exciting to be able to do that. Like, you don't want to stay in the same genre forever, because I don't think my taste changes a lot, and I want to be able to like enjoy listening to my own music.
Yeah. I think it's taking it at the right speed in terms of that change, though, as well, because it's, I suppose, almost from I was talking about this in some posts that I wrote this morning, from a marketing point of view. If you change direction without establishing a brand, then you've got nothing established that then people can understand the change of direction on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it's really key that to begin with you actually establish the brand, and then start to change direction once the brand's established, because otherwise you'll confuse people. People won't know where you're at, particularly.
That's a really good point, actually. I need to think about that kind of deeply, because I am planning a change of direction, but I haven't really got my how it's basically thinking about like how to keep everyone engaged. It's keeping the people that you've already got as fans happy whilst you try and get more.
Yeah, I think all musicians need to think about that. I think what they need to do is they need to think about what elements of you, not necessarily your music, but what elements of you do you need to keep consistent, across your brand, if you like, and then artistically how can you develop but still retaining something, and you can do that through various forms of content. It's not always, as I say, it's not always the music, really. It's like on one platform I post a poll every single morning. I've done it for 5.5 years, haven't missed a day. Right, that element of consistency is really, really important. From that I can then start to deviate off and do other stuff, right? But it's important that I've worked out that there's a core audience there which I've held onto and developed, and and then I can work out how can I take them on that journey.
What do you ask in your poll?
It varies. It literally, do you know what, I get people now come up to me and go, can you do a poll on this? Can you do a poll on that? Can we write a poll together? Because I've built quite a big following around there. It's about 26,000 people that follow me on there because of that. And I say no, because it's, for me, it's part of my muscle thing. I have to get up in the morning and go downstairs, make a cup of coffee, and whilst I'm making a cup of coffee, I write my poll. Part of my routine. Yeah. And if I deviate from that, and deviate from the, allowing that inspiration to just come in at that point, it's not the same, And I think that's important for musicians to develop that sort of thing as well. I listen to, I've mentioned this on here before, but I listened to like Paul Weller talking to Duffy years ago on a Channel 4 interview thing, and she asked it. She could ask him any questions she liked. She said, what advice do you give to a young writer? And he just went, keep writing and be consistently writing, even if rubbish comes out. Doesn't matter. That it's the consistency of actually almost making yourself do it.
Yeah. I'm not
you
very
know.
good at like, because I have heard that before, like make sure that you're writing consistently. But I kind of work better when it's like almost like when the thing that I need to write about is like spilling over, like it's my diary, because otherwise it is genuinely like awful, and it makes me like lose the love of it. Because I was listening to Olivia Dean. Do you know her?
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying that she has the same thing as me, where she was like, I can't just sit down and write a song about this. I have to have it like spilling out of me, and like something that I really need to say. Otherwise, it's not going to be an enjoyable process. Like I totally understand like honing the craft, but I think for me it works better when I'm like, oh, I think I really need to write about this. Like, and then it's like, oh, whether it'll be good or not. But as long as I can get the words out. But it's writing kind of without having anything specific in mind that I find.
Well, then that brings me to my other point, which I tell people as well, which is this, which is when if we think about music like content, right? Again, people ask me all the time, what do I write about? What do I put out there? You know, what should I be saying? And it's like, well, if you can't think of anything, do you know what the problem is? The problem is you're not living. It's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true, right? So the first thing I think that I like somebody like you, what I would say is the first thing you need to do is you need to go through your diary, right? And you need to look at your diary and you go, what have I got planned? Right?
Yeah.
Because if there's stuff in your diary, right? If there's activity in your diary, that activity will then lead to inspiration.
Yeah, and doing stuff that's not always music related as well.
Oh no, I mean literally, it's like go on a date, you know, go shopping somewhere you've not gone shopping before, to buy something you've not ever bought before, you know, go to somewhere you've never been before, to look at something you've never seen before. Just filling your diary with stuff that's like experience, right? You know, go into a part of London you've never been to before, right? Because I think that sometimes, you know, if you do stuff like that and you've got stuff in your diary, it will suddenly you'll do it and you'll go, wow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And learn to look for inspiration in the smallest things as well. I always think are really good. You know, sometimes my polls are like inspired by literally, I'll come down in the morning and I'll see like a packet of cereal that's open on the side, and there'll be something written on the side of the packet of cereal, and that will like, that's it. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking for detail everywhere. I'm just looking for little things. Speaking about this with someone on here the other day, and they went, yeah, I try and capture like little bits of other people's conversations. It's always good.
That's a good one. And I mean, I don't have a very kind of like active like love life, but my friends all do. So when I'm like giving them advice, I'm like always making like mental notes so I can write down like their like experiences and stuff, which is like also quite fun. Yeah, like paying attention is good.
Yeah. What I will say though is you craft a fantastic song, Maggie. I really do. Yeah, I think you craft an absolutely brilliant song.
Thank you.
Tell us about your latest song that you've got out so that we can get everybody to add it to a playlist and give you a bit of a boost. That would be good.
That would be amazing. Please put it on your playlist. It's called Carey.
Who is Carey? Who is Carey?
So Carey is a made up like name. It's not actually based on a person, which is lucky.
It's a real name, but you mean it's not? There's not.
Yes. Sorry, as in I don't have anyone in my life called Carey. Carey. Yet I might attract a Carey into my life. But it came from the Joni Mitchell song Carey, which is one of my favorite songs ever. And I just thought, what a cool name. I think it's amazing because it's it's like kind of every manny. It's not man or woman or anything. Like it's kind of just like a name.
It's androgynous in a way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I always used to wonder with the Joni Mitchell song whether Carey was like a boy or girl, like who is it? Like and that was like part of the intrigue. But then the song is basically about a real thing in my life where I was kind of having complicated feelings for like a best friend type, and it was very strange time, and I kind of wanted to make the song like, Carey's obviously implicated as like the bad guy, but I also come off pretty badly in it. And I call myself like a criminal in the song, and like because basically this person that I got feelings for was in a relationship already. So it was like I was like being like morally bad, and so was Carey. Anyway, and I thought that like the discourse between kind of like good and bad, like those feelings, like is it actually bad if nothing happens, but like there are all these feelings, like I found that quite interesting. And then like so I wrote it on my bed like at university, and then took it to my producer Sam, and we're very like into Dido, and he was like, let's make this like Dido. And so I've got like their like swooping vocal like Carey, and then yeah, it's just I'm really, really proud of it. I think that it's a really cool song, and I like the production's so cool, and I'm like I don't listen to like cool music, like I'm like a pop girl, so I find that kind of hilarious that like I've made this like song which I probably wouldn't feel cool enough to listen to, but I love it and I think it's awesome, and yeah, please go and have a listen.
It's a great song.
Thanks.
And Carey, you know, it's obviously a bit of a pun or play on words or whatever, but you know, there's a thing there about carrying somebody else.
Yeah, it's like it's and yeah, it's like carrying on, carry me,
carrying on, carry somebody, carrying on behind, you know, people's backs and all of that sort of thing and whatever. It's interesting, this whole mind game thing about relationships in particular as well. I wonder, like, you know, whether we'll see more and more of a change in society about that, because it's almost like we still, in a very much more open and liberal world where, you know, seemingly it's okay to be different these days, where it's much more okay to be different than it used to be. It's much more okay to, you know, talk about our sexuality in a much more open way and whatever else as well. But it's interesting that there's still so much guilt around relationships, and maybe not enough conversation, you know. And we still we're still seemingly tied to sort of like, you know, monogamy, you know, one person relationships, you know, husband, wife, 2 children. We're still seemingly tied to that, even though that is kind of almost like a prehistoric, you know, construct these days in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of young people are trying to navigate that, right? That we've got, on the one hand, we've got all of this kind of open expression and freedom, and yet it's still kind of like people are kind of frowned on for doing something different. And maybe it's just, you know, songs like yours help.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like people are like, why do you want to talk about something so personal? And I think it's because
I think people need to talk about things that are that personal.
Yeah, and it's not, people aren't going to think like, oh, poor Maggie, or like, what's, you know, they're not going to think too deeply about my life, but they're going to probably think about the unexamined chemistry that they have with one of their friends. Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like I think it does apply to everyone.
Absolutely. What a brilliant conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Graham. It was so nice to meet you.
And to you.
I hope the
And you.
last of the week is not too stressful. For your wife. She's not
It
going-
won't. It won't. It won't be. It will be fine. It will be fine. I might just drive past it if I can, just
Yeah,
to
go and
just
listen to some of the music.
soak up some of the ambience. Yeah.
Have you ever been?
I have. I did go once, and I ended up working.
Oh.
I ended up doing this at Glastonbury.
That's
Yeah.
cool though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I went as a punter with a
Mm.
group of friends. Sorry, group of friends. I don't know. I don't doubt they're listening. Didn't see much of these friends because I ended up working. The radio station that I was doing some work for at the time phoned me to say the person that's gone down to do all of the interviews for Glastonbury has chickened out. Why you would, don't know.
Who would chicken out of something like that?
Exactly. Well, their loss, my gain. They said, can we send you a VIP pass and some recording equipment? Can you do some interviews? Oh, hard life.
Pass. Oh my god.
So yeah, I spent the whole of that Glastonbury pretty much backstage.
That's so cool.
Which was great.
Who's the best person you've ever interviewed?
Who's the what?
Who's the most interesting person you've ever interviewed?
You, Maggie.
Apart from me.
Apart from you. Do you know what? I honestly can't answer that. I think that everybody that I've interviewed has brought something.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I could probably, well, I probably won't tell you because it would be rude to. I could probably tell you who I haven't enjoyed interviewing.
Okay.
Right. And I have to say, I'm going to say it now, since I've been doing this podcast, there's not been a single person that I haven't enjoyed doing. But in the past, when I had to interview people, there have been a few that were stupid and tried to, you know, mess around during the interview just because they thought they were clever, but they ended up sounding like idiots. But yeah. But in general, I think everybody brings something different, and that's the beauty of conversations. That's the beauty of conversational content. We start a dialogue, right, and then our dialogue gets amplified into the world as we put it out there, and then other people join in that conversation. I think everybody that I've interviewed has brought something unique, different, has challenged me, made me think. Right, I think it's great. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and there's a lot. We've got over 540 episodes of this now, so that's
amazing. Yeah, it's so cool.
Do at some point just dive into a few of them and have a listen. You'll learn so much. I promise you, any of you will learn so much. People say that to me. They've learned so much from listening to these podcasts. That's a lovely thing. Maggie, you've been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on today. This is the wonderful Maggie Baring. Do go and add Carey to your podcast playlist or any playlist that you've got out there at the moment. Maybe make it your hit of the summer. That would be nice. And we look forward to more music coming from Maggie soon. If you've enjoyed this, please do go and share with friends and family, and do check out the story behind this at mymusicpodcast.com. We will be back soon with more My Music. Until then,